Hello, everybody. Peter Greenberg here on this Tuesday before Turkey Day, 2023, for our global travel update. We're coming to you earlier this week simply because everybody's getting out of town. If they were smart, they already got out of town. But a lot of things to share with you in the news. As you know, last week we were over in Maui doing a report on the update on the recovery from those terrible and tragic wildfires back in August that killed 100 people. The worst fire death fatality rate in more than 100 years. And in fact, our radio show this Saturday will be coming from Maui, and it will come from Maui next Saturday. We did a two-parter because there's so much to talk about what you need to know about our 50th state, not just Maui as well, as they try to recover from that terrible tragedy. And we'll be talking about that, of course, on the show this Saturday. But before we even get there, I've said happy early Turkey Day. You know, the AAA is estimating 55.4 million Americans taking to the roads and the skies this holiday season. But before you panic and freak out, they actually did that 55.4 figure spread out between November 16th, last Thursday, and November 28th, next Tuesday. A lot of Americans are getting smarter. They've staggered their departures. They're not all leaving tomorrow. We all know what tomorrow's about, right? Tomorrow is the worst day of the year, always. They made a movie called Planes, Trains, and Automobiles to celebrate that, or at least to acknowledge the nuts and the crazy people. If you have to travel tomorrow, you get no sympathy from me, and you'll probably get no sympathy from anybody else, including the airlines. But more on that a little bit later. The good news is the airline chaos is not as bad as it could be, simply because so many Americans left earlier. They started leaving last Thursday. And they're going to come back not on that dreaded Sunday after Thanksgiving, but on the Tuesday or Wednesday after. First of all, the airfares will be cheaper, and their stress levels will be decreased. Speaking of stress and fares, you know, if you're smart, you'll do what my parents used to do with me, and that is ignore Thanksgiving week entirely and do turkey the next week and celebrate Thanksgiving the next week. Why? It's called the dead week. There are two dead weeks in America, the week immediately following Thanksgiving and the week immediately following New Year's, for all the obvious reasons. In the week following Thanksgiving, people are recovering from their dysfunctional family get-together, and the week following New Year's, they're recovering from New Year's. And airfares will drop between 40 and 60% in some markets, and so will hotel rates. We're already starting to see the Black Friday sales from both airlines, hotels, and cruise lines. Let me share a couple of those with you. If you're a Bonvoy member, Marriott's going to discount 20% on your room. You got to book it very soon, but it's good for a number of weeks and months after. The same thing for Expedia and Hotels.com, up to 30% off. TAP, the airline of Portugal, great deals. You got to book it very soon, but they're good for a long period after. And we've seen round-trip airfares as low as $379. Even Spirit's got a Black Friday sale. And Norwegian Cruise Lines, you got to book it soon, but the good news is 30% off to many of their destinations, and those cruises that you can book are good through, I think, May or June of next year. So think about that and understand that, you know, the timing is everything. You don't have to go right away, but you got to book it in the next 4 or 5 days. Speaking of cruise lines, and by the way, speaking of NCL, I've got a bone to pick with them. And so do many of our listeners and viewers. And they're not the only one, by the way. We all know about what's going on in the Middle East and the ripple effects from what's going on in Israel and Gaza, and of course the West Bank and northern Israel as well. Here's the problem. When you sign up for a cruise, guess what happens? You basically give them the right, it's in the contract, to substitute ports in the event of severe weather, or force majeure, act of God, or a declaration of war. Let us not forget, Israel did declare war. And once that happens, all bets are off. The cruise lines can then, avoid docking in Haifa or anywhere else in the Red Sea or anywhere else in the Med. The problem is, a number of cruise lines had cruises already scheduled to leave now, these 9 and 12 and 14-day cruises, and they didn't substitute one port, they substituted 6 ports. And as a result, you have a 14-day cruise in which 7 days are being spent at sea. That's not a cruise, that's a commercial fishing operation. And they're not giving back passenger money or even giving them credit on a future cruise because they are claiming and applying the letter of the contract that the cruise is operating, but not the cruise they booked. And that's where we get into a real problem because the cruise lines are sticking to the letter of the contract, but certainly not the spirit of it. I mean, people book these cruises because they had bucket list destinations that are no longer there. It's one thing to say we have to substitute one port because there's a difficulty at the port or a conflict there or severe weather. But no, they've wiped out most of them, and this is not what the cruise passengers bargained for. The cruise line should be doing the right thing and either refunding their money or giving them a future cruise credit that's realistic. But to say the cruise is operating, take it or leave it, not the way to do it. Not the way to do it. Not in the spirit of Thanksgiving in the least. Speaking of that, and the Middle East, I want to encourage you all to go to our website, petergreenberg.com. We have a list there, a comprehensive list of all the aid and relief organizations doing all that hard and essential work in the Middle East, especially in Israel and Gaza and other parts as well. Boots on the ground, money going where you can find it and connect it to the people. And there will be ample opportunities in the weeks and months ahead for you to go to the region and also help out. Not now, but in the months and weeks ahead, we'll let you know about that. But in the meantime, there's a way you can help. And by the way, that just doesn't apply to Israel and the Middle East. It also applies to places like Maui, where we just were. You'll find that listing as well on our website of all the different organizations there in Maui doing such work. Do not forget that 2,200 homes destroyed, 1,200 businesses wiped out, 120 restaurants obliterated, and more than 7,200 people in Maui essentially displaced. Where are they going to go? Where are they going to live? They really need our help. And I've just come back from there, and I can tell you, and we'll be reporting on this, of course, on the radio this weekend, the devastation. I got permission to get escorted in with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers on their debris removal teams. And I have to tell you, what you're seeing on the ground there, it's almost hard to describe. There's nothing left. It is as close as we can get to thinking about pictures that resembled Hiroshima after the bomb. Everything's melted. There's nothing standing. If you walk along the streets, you're walking on metal that has melted to the ground. And keep in mind, this fire was burning with such speed and such intensity that almost everything got obliterated in less than 30 minutes. That's how crazy this was. A fire that the fire department literally and physically could not control. As many of you know, I'm also a fireman here in New York, and I've seen many scenes post-fire. I've never seen something like this. Now, you're not going to go to Maui to go visit that site. You're not allowed. I was able to go in with special permission as a journalist. There's no need for you to go to that site. But there is a need for you, if you love Hawaii like I do, to go back to the rest of Hawaii. It's not closed. Do yourself a favor, give yourself a present early for Christmas, get an atlas, get a map, and realize that the rest of Maui is open and the rest of Hawaii is open, and they truly depend on travel and tourism as their economic base. It's the driver, it's the job creator. It gives them revenue that they can live on. It puts food on the table. And right now, there's not a lot of food and there are very few tables. So they want you to come over, but they want you to come over responsibly. And there are ways, by the way, that you can go over, especially to Maui, and volunteer to help while you're there. Spend half your time on the beach, have a ball, stay at the pool, have a ball, and then go volunteer. So if you want all that information, go to our website, petergreenberg.com. Let me scroll down and say hello to a few people today. Gina says, Maui needs our love and to visit with compassion. Absolutely. By the way, there's a Hawaiian term. It's called kokua. Do you know what that means? It means to help without being asked. Well, I'm violating that. I'm asking you to help. But you can do it without being asked. Just go do it. Hello from Bellingham to Sue. She's going to Maui next Tuesday. Okay, you're staying in Kihei. That's great. Now you can venture outside of Kihei and also help people out. You can go into West Maui, just not Lahaina, and there are ways for you to help out at the Civic Center. There are ways for you to help out in farms, to help package food, to deliver it to people in need. I was at the Civic Center earlier this week, and I have to tell you, they still need a lot of help. And by the way, it's Thanksgiving. Come on, folks, help them out. All right. I hope you will do that. Let's go scroll down a little more here. Joy saying, Happy Thanksgiving. I was just wondering why the flights no longer have the screens in front of your seats to watch free movies. You have to use your tablet, phones, or laptop. Which planes? American took the screens off. You may have noticed that. But now they're starting to put them back. I was on a United flight, a brand new United flight the other day. They had screens in the back seats. So it's airline specific, Joy. The reason why the airlines took the screens off to begin with, two reasons. Weight, and so many people had they're downloading their own stuff on their iPhones or their tablets before they got on the plane anyway. But not everybody wanted that. I love flying JetBlue and Delta for only one reason: live TV. I get to watch my favorite shows live. Now, if you're going over the ocean, that's a different story. You lose signal. But around the United States, it's great. All right, Mary's saying Happy Thanksgiving from Ridgeway in Ontario. My good pal Eddie May, greetings from Long Island. Eddie, I'm going to be in Long Island tomorrow. I'm in New York right now, and that's when you and I are going to talk. All right? All right. Oh, by the way, we just posted it, how to help the people in Maui. Thank you, Anthony, for posting that. Please do that and get back to me. Let me know how you've been able to help, and come back and give us reports. Be reporters for those of you who are going to Maui, and tell me what they need that you experience so I can get the word out. Okay? That would be very, very helpful. Okay. Bruce Siegel, my good pal who in Palm Beach right now. Thank you, he says, for continuing to spread the Maui message. Absolutely. And very happy Thanksgiving to you, Bruce and to Liesel. We'll talk to you soon about that. Christopher Navarro in Fort Lauderdale. I understand Southwest Airlines is pulling all their international flights out of Fort Lauderdale Airport. Why? Are you talking about because of the coming storm, or because they're pulling out their international flights in Fort Lauderdale? Let me know a little bit more about that, and I can find that out for you, okay? There you go. Now, let's call back some other stuff. Where's my note? Here we go. Are you looking for alternatives for post-Thanksgiving travel? Remember, airfares are coming down, hotel rates are coming down. They don't know from Turkey and Europe. You can go there right now. Airfares. I came back from Europe just a couple of days ago before I went to Maui. The plane was absolutely empty. Now, online, it showed every seat taken in every class category. When I got to the airport, you know what they said when we were actually scanning our boarding pass to get on the plane? Once you're on the plane, sit anywhere you want. Seriously. Every coach passenger had their own row. Who knew? So there's been a drop-off caused by two things. Economic concerns. People overspent on travel for the first 10 months of this year. And the second thing is, of course, the situation in the Middle East, which tends to make people kind of stay inward a little bit and not travel as much. And let's not forget this. And all the airlines that are giving you predictions of a robust economy next year and every plane being full, I think they're delusional. It's an election year. Americans tend not to travel as much. So if you can save some money right now, 2024 could actually be more of a buyer's market, certainly, than this year was. So please understand that. Okay, Gina says, my favorite time to travel has always been the first week in December. Ciao from San Diego. You're absolutely right. That's what I've been saying all along. There's 2 dead weeks, the first week after Thanksgiving and the first week after New Year's. Okay, let me go down here a second. Mary saying, Happy Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving to you. Okay, moving down. Okay, happy. Oh, Beverly Hills is saying happy. Hello, Zara. Or is it Zore? I'm sorry, I hope I do that. April saying, joining from Las Vegas. How was F1? Did you survive? Okay, 200 miles an hour on the streets at night. Nothing like Las Vegas, I'll tell you. Okay, Christopher says they're pulling out of Fort Lauderdale altogether. Well, just their international flights? My guess is this. If you take a look at the Southwest route makeup, and I'll double check this for you before now and next week, something outrageous like 60% of their flights in any given day go through the state of Florida. That's why if Southwest has a meltdown, it usually happens in Florida, because nobody ever gets where they need to go if Florida melts down. If they're pulling their flights out of Fort Lauderdale, they're either not getting the loads they want on international routes, or they want to place their planes elsewhere where they can get a better yield. I will check into that and let you know. Okay. Gina says, I just got back from Maui. The flight had many empty seats. They move people around for weight distribution. What is the protocol for moving to a better seat? Waiting until after reaching cruising altitude? Well, yeah, it's not just the protocol, it's a safety issue. The reason why they moved everybody around for weight and balance is to be able to, is for takeoff and landing, especially takeoff because they're full of fuel. So it's center of gravity issues. In fact, most flight attendants will not let you change seats until they get to cruising altitude. So that's your answer right there. Terry says, greetings from California, historic Route 66. A lot of people on that road this weekend, I'm sure. Let me scroll down a little bit more and say hello to a few more people. So first of all, the other great deals that are going to happen, speaking of dead week deals, Amtrak. Amtrak's had their best ridership in years this year, and their rates are not necessarily inexpensive. But the week after Thanksgiving and the week after New Year's, that's when you take a train trip. And I'm telling you, that'll be fun to do. So check those out. The other airlines that are going to do pop-up deals, they haven't popped up yet, but they will probably by midnight tomorrow night. They won't stay up long. They're only good for maybe 36 hours, but once you book them, they're good for many, many months ahead. So, stand by for those. Okay, now, let me go to some of your questions that you asked, and we'll get to those right now. Hold on a second. All right. Somebody asked me, don't get me started. What credit card do I recommend for people who are traveling? Well, I'm going to open up a door here and tell you about a battle, and one that makes a lot of sense. I'll tell you the credit card I no longer travel with. And I'm going to date myself. I've had the card, are you ready for this? For 50 years. Here's the card I no longer travel with. In fact, it's the card I'm about to no longer use. It's American Express. Let me tell you why. And I want everybody to listen carefully to this because we're at an inflection point in this country economically when it comes to how we use our charge cards and our credit cards. Let's start with credit cards, and then I'll come back to American Express. During the pandemic, everybody got solicited by credit card offers offering 60, 90,000 bonus miles, all these other great perks if you just signed up for a credit card. Well, those credit cards carry anywhere from 24 to 28% interest. Let me tell you how wild that is and how usurious it is. If I were to loan any of you money at 24% interest, I would go to prison. That violates the law. But credit card companies, through intense lobbying efforts, are allowed to charge that interest. That's not simple interest, that's compounded interest. Would you believe that consumer credit card debt in the last 3 months has gone up $154 billion? It's now over $1.3 trillion, and that's all unsecured credit, basically accruing interest, ka-ching, 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 because we all thought it was a great idea to get bonus points. For what? For miles you can't redeem? So hold on to that, because if you have a credit card, it's incumbent upon you, so that you can get out of a trap, to pay your bill off every month. Don't revolve it. You'll never catch up. And now let's switch over to what is called the charge card, the traditional, original American Express card. It also happened in the old days with Diners Club, and for those of you who are really old, the Carte Blanche card. Those are not credit cards, those are charge cards. And in return, for allowing them to have you join as a member, your card had no preset spending limit. Conceivably, you go out tomorrow and buy a Rolls Royce with it if you wanted to, with one important caveat. And that caveat being that when the bill comes in every month, it has to be paid in full every month. You can't revolve it. You can't roll it over. Well, I've had the card for 50 years. So let's make a wild assumption here. If I've had the card for 50 years, would you presume that I've paid my bill in full every month? Otherwise, I wouldn't have the card, right? Okay, work with me on this. So I travel a lot, as many of you know. That's why I'm here talking today. And I use that card a lot. I carry relatively high balances, and I pay it off in full every month. Okay, you with me so far? All right. 2 months ago, American Express starts denying my charges. And they're not just doing it to me, they're doing it to other responsible cardholders. Why? I started an investigation on this. You know why? It has nothing to do with your purchasing history. It has nothing to do with your payment history, especially if it's good. It has nothing to do with your credit worthiness. It has to do with a bad word that starts with an A. And we're mortgaging our common sense to this bad word all over the place. Not just credit cards. We're talking about the entire travel experience. We're talking about how we live our daily lives. It's terrible. You know what that word is that starts with A? Algorithms. Right? Airlines use algorithms to project demand, set prices. Doesn't benefit us. Algorithms are used to figure out what our preferences might be. You know, if we go on to Google and search Des Moines, Iowa, next thing you know, we're flooded with information about Des Moines because they think we're interested. Okay? This is not artificial intelligence. This is artificial dumbness because it's misguided and it doesn't embrace common sense. It doesn't allow for a conversation either. So now let's go back to see what American Express has been doing. For the last 2 months, and by the way, let's repeat this now, I get my bill in full every month and I pay it in full every month. They start denying my charges. Now, what charges are they denying? Hotel rates, my cable TV bill, my parking, some pre-authorized like Netflix and Hulu. Right? So I call American Express on the phone and I say to them, could you please explain this? Did I miss something? Have I missed a payment? Have I been delayed or late? Oh no, you have a perfect record with us. Fine. Why are you denying the charges? Well, you're spending a little more than normal. Who cares? I pay the bill in full every month. And no, I didn't buy a Rolls Royce. They continue to do it. And finally, I go all the way up the ladder and say, you have to make your case. I've had the bill. I'm talking to somebody on the phone. I say, I've had the card longer than you've been alive. Why are you doing this? And they say, the algorithm says what? Are you worried that I'm a flight risk? I'm a fugitive from justice? Am I a member of the witness relocation program? I am not. I've been a responsible cardholder for 50 years. So now I'm beginning to take this personally, but I do a little more homework. I talked to friends of mine who've had the card in excess of 20 years. And guess what? American Express is doing it to them too. I have another friend of mine who is in the stratosphere in terms of income, and they did it to her as well. What does this tell you about algorithms and what American Express thinks about the economy going into 2024? It tells you a lot, doesn't it? Here's what it also tells me. I've now taken all of my pre-authorized charges out of American Express and put it on another credit card. I've stopped using the card. I'm going to hang it on the wall as an ornamental art piece. After all, it's 50 years old, could be an antique. And I challenge American Express. Somebody out there from American Express must be watching this, or if you know somebody from American Express, you might want to share this video with them. What the hell are you doing? And then, in the interest of fairness, please come on this show. Come on my radio show. Come on my television show and tell me why I would still want to have the card. So to answer the question that was just asked to me, what card do I recommend for travel? You know the answer already. American Express, I don't leave home with it. And if they're doing it to me, they're doing it to a lot more people who don't have the platform that I have to tell you about it. So the challenge to American Express is call me, write me, email me, fax me, but talk to me. And then tell everybody else why you're doing this. Because if you can't make your case, we're not keeping the card. It's as simple as that. A long answer to a short question, but one that I thought needed to be made. All right, let's keep going here. Okay. Here's one from, here's one. United Airlines is giving 90,000 bonus miles if you sign up for their credit card. Here we go again. Co-branded credit cards are in trouble right now. I'll give you an example. A co-branded credit card is one you get from United, which is issued by Chase, or American, which is issued by Citibank, or Delta, which is issued by American Express. I'm not talking about the original American Express card. I'm talking about the American Express Delta Reserve card, where you know that by using that card, you're automatically getting miles in one particular airline. First of all, you're paying an annual fee. You're getting miles you can't redeem. Somebody has to give me the value proposition of that. Guess what? Rhetorical question. They can't. What you need to do now is go to a cashback card or a card that gives you points and choices for you to make that decision. There's the Capital One Venture X card. There's the Chase Sapphire Reserve card, just to name two. There's even the Discover card. These are either points or cashback cards. It gives you a tangible financial asset that you can use, as opposed to trapping you in the delusional pursuit of miles that you can never redeem. Now, I know some of you say, oh, I'm able to redeem miles. Yes, but at what valuation? The airlines continue to devalue the programs where you, by the time you add the annual fee that you pay, the interest that you're paying, and the amount of miles needed to redeem for a regular flight, it's worthless. It's Venezuelan currency. So there you go. Get a cashback card, and by the way, pay the bill in full every month. Don't get trapped. I hope you'll listen to me. All right, let's keep going here. Hold on a second. Okay, keep going. I'm scrolling down here. Oh, Zora, thank you for telling me I pronounced your name perfectly. Ben wants to know, happy Thanksgiving. How are hotel rates and occupancy in New York City hotels now with the new Airbnb restrictions? Well, we haven't seen any effect yet because a lot of other hotels have been opening in New York, so the room capacity is expanding at the hotel level. But as the inventory stabilizes, we will see some changes. And you're going to see many other cities putting into effect Airbnb rules because it's getting a little out of control. You know where it's really getting out of control? In Maui. Because before the fires, developers are coming in and buying 10 and 15 houses and turning them to Airbnbs. And what it did two things. It changed the room rate situation in Maui, but worse than that, it displaced people from their homes that they were renting, and they had nowhere else to go. We're talking about the locals. So we have to do something about that. Okay, Joyce says, we're in New York staying over one night. Want to know where is a reasonably priced hotel under $200 to stay in Manhattan and see a Broadway play? Here's what you're going to do. Now, don't laugh at me, but this is my ode to public transit in Manhattan. You're not going to stay in a Manhattan hotel. You're going to stay in a Brooklyn or a Queens hotel and just take the subway in. It's basically 2 stops, and you're in Midtown Manhattan and go see all the Broadway plays you want, right? You're not going to stay in Manhattan. There you go. Adrian's saying good morning from Huntington Beach. Okay. And Adrian agrees with me that it's an amazing misuse of the already disgusting algorithms. I couldn't agree more. Okay. Thank you, Evelyn, for your Thanksgiving wishes. Adrian says, I just got the Costco MasterCard. It's cash back, and I, too, pay off my card each month. You go, girl. And Yvette says, hello from Brooklyn. Hello, Brooklyn. By the way, last week, we talked about the island of St. Helena. Does anybody remember where that is? It's smack in the middle of the South Atlantic, between Africa and South America. It's a British overseas territory. About 4,000 people live there. We did a very special piece on it on my PBS show, which is also on Amazon, called The Travel Detective. It's got such great history. And now with Napoleon back in the news, remember the new movie that's out, which I can't wait to go see, this is the island where Napoleon was exiled. Now, some of you may remember he was exiled in Elba. That's what we were taught. And that was correct. He was exiled there, but then he escaped. He fought the British at the Battle of Waterloo, and he lost, and the British got so pissed at him, they said, we're going to send you to the one island you'll never escape from. And it was St. Helena, and the British were right. He got there in 1815. He died in 1821. And a lot of you wanted to see that show, so I'm asking Anthony to post the link. It's about a 15-minute cover story. There it is. And you can watch it right there on Amazon Prime, and I hope you like it. It's a wild place to go, very difficult to get there, but one of those places that you're very happy once you do get there. All right, now I'll leave that up there for a second so you can take it down. And now it's time to go to the photo of the week. I love this photo, and it came as a little bit of a surprise to me because where was this photo taken? Yes, it was taken in Africa, but not in South Africa. It was taken actually in Botswana. Most people go to Botswana to see the largest elephant herds in the world, but this was taken in Botswana about 2 months ago by Sandra Collins. Congratulations, Sandra. She writes, I followed a pride of lionesses stalking red. I cannot pronounce this. Is it lechuas? From out of nowhere, a lioness at full speed clipped in front of the Jeep. We could have reached out and touched her. My hubby captured this amazing photo of a sheer grit and determination, which resulted in a kill in waist-deep water. Who says lions don't like water? All right. Thank you again, Sandra. We love this photo. And for those of you who think you've got a great photo of the week, you know what to do. Send it to photocontest@petergreenberg.com. And if we agree with you that it matches up with what Sandra just did, we'll be happy to post it. Again, photocontest@petergreenberg.com. Let me scroll down very quickly. Evelyn's reporting, took 2 weeks to expedite passport renewal. This is the time to do it. Good luck for you, Evelyn, and nice going. The State Department has actually said they've been able to reduce wait times to about 9 weeks. But if you do expedited services, it can be as little as 5 weeks. I don't know what happened with you, Evelyn. You get the prize for 2 weeks for expedited passport renewal. Hello, Brenda from Stoughton, Wisconsin. Or I should Stoughton, Wisconsin. I should know better. It's Stoughton and Sun Prairie and Mount Horeb, my favorite places in Wisconsin, by the way. Greetings from Japan from Jew, who's always checking in. And before I leave, a couple of quick housekeeping notes as we get ready for the Thanksgiving weekend. Remember, don't leave less than 2.5 hours on your connecting flights, or you'll be spending the weekend in the rocking chairs at the Charlotte airport. Please listen to our show from Maui this Saturday. It's an important show. It's a 2-part special edition coming from Ground Zero. You need to hear what's going on and basically what also isn't going on, and how you can be a responsible traveler and return not only to Maui, but to the rest of Hawaii. I hope you get a chance to listen. If you can't find a station in your market, there's no problem. We stream it live at petergreenberg.com at about 10:05 a.m. Eastern Time on Saturday morning. So I hope you have a great weekend coming up. I hope you watch as much bad football as you can. I'm ordering Chinese food and binge watching Wheel of Fortune. I am, actually. And this is the one time of the year I'm not traveling anywhere. Smart traveler I am. And I hope you survive the weekend. In the meantime, happy Thanksgiving. We'll talk to you next week, and have a great holiday. Bye-bye, everybody.